Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all having an agreeable day so far. My name is Toki. I'm an educator here at Ripley's Aquarium of Canada, and today I will be talking to all of you about seahorses. With me today is Danielle, my camera person. She is focusing on our seahorses. She's showing you our seahorses. I'll focus on that view in a few seconds, well, when we start feeding. But for now, let's just do a land acknowledgement. So, Ripley's Aquarium of Canada acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaties, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. Okay. I will just focus on Danielle's camera for now. And Danielle, if we could start feeding the seahorses, that would be awesome. Today, we have Jason, our aquarist, to help us with feeding our seahorses. There's Jason over there. We're giving our seahorses some frozen mysids today in the morning, and we're giving them a lot. And later on, we will be giving them some live brine shrimp. It's going to be a fun day for our seahorses and their food. Um, First, let's focus on seahorses and them getting their food. Oh, and right now, thank you very much, Danielle. Hopefully, friends, you can hear our seahorses eating their food. It's that clicking noise. Yeah. Now, you'll hear it as we go along. And I wanted to mention they produce this clicking noise or clicking sound because seahorses, one of their defining characteristic, the group of fish that they belong in, is that they have fused jaws, or their jaws are tightly sealed together or fused together, if that makes sense. Because of that, they have a very small, narrow, and tubular mouth, and although it's very small and narrow, it's actually very powerful. It can quickly swallow its food, and that is the sound that it's making. It acts like a vacuum or almost like a straw, basically. Now, if you were wondering what seahorses like to eat in the ocean or in their natural habitat, seahorses can eat any small crustacean. They can eat zooplankton or really small microscopic animals. Mysid and brine shrimps are zooplankton. And they can even eat small larval fish. But all of these, whatever they want to eat, it has to fit in their mouth. So there's a bit of a limitation to that. And since we're talking about this, I wanted to mention that seahorses are very unusual fish. One thing that adds to their unusualness, or I think I call this a quirk for them, is that they actually don't have stomachs. Their stomach isn't that long, if that makes sense. You can just imagine them as having one linear stomach instead of a stomach that's spiraling, and that means that their food passes quickly through their body, and that means that they have to eat often, or they have to eat a lot of food throughout the day. And yeah, that's why we feed them a lot. We give them a lot of food, and we feed them multiple times per day. Now, I wanted to go back to the fact that I mentioned that they belong to a group of animals. This group of animal is called the Sygnathidae. I know it's very mouthy, but basically, other animals that belong in this group would include our sea dragons and pipefish. Let me just show them, or what these animals look like on the screen. Yes. Over there we have that's a photo of a sea dragon and a pipefish. We both have these animals. It's just a bit difficult to show them right now because we're focusing on seahorse. Anyway, you'll notice that these animals, they've got the long mouth, not long narrow mouth as well, long narrow tubular mouth, as well as the really long elongated body. Going back to the seahorse view, and going back to talking about seahorses, aside from having that mouth, I also mentioned that their bodies are very similar. The seahorse, the pipefish, and the sea dragon, their bodies are similar in that it's very long and narrow, unlike all other fish that you've seen. And seahorses as well, they do not have tail fins. They have a back fin or a caudal fin, and they have pectoral fins, which would be found just behind their neck, but they don't have tail fins. So you might think that that'll make it a bit difficult for them to live because their body shape is shaped unusually, and they don't have tail fins at all. But to help them out, seahorses actually have very unusual tail. Their tail has been described as prehensile, and at this moment, I'll ask Danielle if we could see if Jason could, or if Jason could try and let see the seahorses wrap their tail on his finger. Yeah, let's see this. Okay. Okay, so seahorses, I mentioned that their tail are described as prehensile. The term prehensile just means that something that can be wrapped around things, usually used to describe an animal's body part. For us humans, it's our thumbs are prehensile, our hands are prehensile. We can wrap it around things. We can use it to grasp things. A monkey's tail is prehensile, a chameleon's tail as well, and a seahorse's tail is prehensile as well. Some of the benefits that this would give the seahorse. Oh, that is an awesome view of a seahorse's tail in action. Some of the benefits that this would give a seahorse is that it'll allow the seahorse to anchor itself onto surfaces and even onto structures in the ocean, such as seaweed and corals and other branchy organisms in the ocean. Sometimes they can even wrap their tail onto debris that's floating in the ocean. Um, and this is very handy because seahorses are very poor swimmers, as I described earlier. They don't have any tail fin. They don't have a tail fin, and having this ability to anchor themselves, to stabilize themselves in an environment where there are really strong waves will help them survive. And it also help them hunt their food. Seahorses are actually ambush predators. They like to pretend that they're invisible, and they're really good at it. And once their food gets too close, they will just quickly eat the food. They will swallow their food up in their tubular mouth. Now, to help with seahorses and their lifestyle, they also have chromatophores on their skin. Chromatophores are these cells that are also present in octopus and some of its cousins in the cephalopod family, where this chromatophore, where this cell, it would give the seahorse the ability to change the color of their skin whenever they want to, on command. Usually they would change their skin to camouflage or to hide in their habitat so that they can look invisible. And let me tell you, seahorses apparently are very good at hiding. A lot of our scuba divers who've spent so many hours diving in the ocean, have said that they rarely find seahorses. The only time they found a seahorse was when they were purposely looking for one, and when they also had a dive master guide them and tell them where they could find seahorses in the specific reef that they were diving in. The point that I'm trying to make is that they are very good at hiding. Now, a bit of a tangent here, but I mentioned how seahorses have very unusually shaped bodies. A cool fact about that is there's a part of our brain that's actually named after seahorses. So a seahorse's genus name is hippocampus. And in our brain, there's a part of our brain that's called the hippocampus. And yeah, it was given that name because it looks like a seahorse. And also, just to dissect a seahorse's name further, the name hippocampus is actually in ancient Greek. It translates to horse and sea monster, because a lot of the people who saw seahorses in the ancient times thought that they looked very unusual, thought that they looked interesting. So yeah, they gave it a name based off of horses and sea monsters. Now, another cool fact about seahorses, which is what everyone knows them for, is that for seahorses, it is actually the males that would carry the babies throughout pregnancy. So before this process begins, just to give a quick summary of this process, seahorses would actually perform very intricate courting rituals. They will dance with their partner seahorse until they're both ready to reproduce, and it's sort of like a four-step mating ritual or a four-step dance of some sorts. And then once they're both ready, they will start mating. The females will lay her eggs in the brood pouch of the males or on the stomach of the males. And then the males will carry the babies for about 40 days, or the eggs for about 40 days. And then when the babies are ready, the males will release the babies into the water. Um, so at this point, I have talked too much. A few more information that I wanted to share before we move on is that these seahorses, they are pot-bellied seahorses. They are the biggest seahorse in the world. They can reach a length of about 14 inches. That's the biggest seahorse, 14 inches, and those are the pot-bellied seahorses. In case you were wondering, this is a beautiful view of our juvenile seahorses. Yeah, and we're feeding them as well. But yeah, I was gonna mention, in case you were wondering how you wanted to tell male and female seahorses apart. We've got a good view of a seahorse right now. That one right there, that is a female seahorse. You can see that its belly clearly has an ending point, or it clearly stops. It's well rounded. It clearly stops. If it was a male, its stomach would extend further down, like that one right there. There's a white fleshy part just underneath its stomach. That white fleshy part would be its brood pouch. Now, this would not be an experience with the aquarium unless we talk about conservation messages for these animals. Luckily enough for seahorses, their population, we actually don't know if any specific details about their population. We don't know if their population is threatened or vulnerable. Just because, like I mentioned earlier, seahorses are really good at hiding. What we do know, however, is that the habitat for seahorses, it's very vulnerable to us humans and to our impacts to the environment. The places where these seahorses would live in the ocean, they do experience they do experience the negative impacts that us humans have with the environment. Say, for example, in a coral reef, and with climate change making coral reef leading to coral bleaching. If in the future seahorses and their they basically might lose their habitat, if that makes sense. Um, Another big issue for seahorses is that even up to today, people are intentionally harvesting seahorses or catching seahorses for purposes of selling them. Some parts of the world, they like to eat seahorses. In some cultures, they believe that there is a medical benefit to eating a seahorse. I personally don't think that that's a fact, but yeah, hopefully in the future we do better. And also, some of our fishing practices can be very damaging to seahorses, such as bycatch. Bycatch happens when fisher people would throw really big nets into the water, and they would want to catch one specific fish, but they would accidentally catch a lot of other fish or a lot of other animals in the water, since their net is very big. Seahorses are vulnerable to bycatch. In case you guys wanted to help out with these issues, there's always resources such as OceanWise that would talk about sustainable fishing. I'm showing the website for OceanWise, and yeah, feel free to check OceanWise out if you wanted to learn more about sustainable fishing and how to prevent bycatch. Also, we are nearing the end of our time together. I've talked way too much. In case our friends here want to see more live animals, feel free to check out our live webcam. If you can't visit the aquarium yet, because the aquarium is open now from 10 in the morning up to 8 in the evening. If our friends want to see more of our live animals, feel free to check out our live webcams. And let's see. There are some questions on YouTube, or there are some comments on YouTube, but I unfortunately have run out of time to answer these comments. But yes, maybe next time. And yeah, we'll see you again next week. We do live feedings every Thursday at 9:30 in the morning. So yes, we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.